Hello and welcome to the Wholesale Made Easy podcast, where we believe selling on Amazon shouldn't be hard, and we're going to prove it. My name is Dylan Carter, and I'm one of the co-founders at VinDrive, a tool that helps Amazon wholesale sellers streamline their businesses, stay organized, and land more profitable accounts. I'm sitting down with other successful wholesale sellers, and together we're sharing lessons learned and what it really takes to succeed with wholesale. Today's episode is actually a fairly short one where it's just me talking about and going over 2 techniques to really grow your business. Now, I may sound a bit monotone, and that's because I'm reading a little bit here. I am kind of cheating, reading from the 7-figure blueprint that we did put together, but I'm going over the stretch technique and the going net technique. 2 things that drastically changed my wholesale business from 15 days into using it. I mean, it was fantastic. And so I cannot overstate this enough. This may be a short episode, but I promise you, if you use the 2 techniques, even just one of them moving forward, it's going to dramatically change the trajectory of your wholesale Amazon business. Let's get to the episode. Growing a business is what I imagine raising a child is like. It's probably just as expensive, takes up all your time, and you're never really sure if you're doing it right. Reading blog post after blog post just to confirm you aren't killing it. The initial hurdle of successfully starting a wholesale Amazon business is understanding the strategy behind consistently acquiring new, profitable accounts. From there, it's pretty simple and can even be outsourced with proper training and some time. Overcoming this actual hurdle alone puts you in the top 10% of Amazon sellers, in my opinion. You have a clear process that is effective and consistent. Each week you add new accounts and increase your sales volume, but at some point you hit a major hurdle, which is hurdle number 2, having too much awesome inventory, but not enough cash to purchase it all. Although it's a great problem to have, you quickly begin to realize how much opportunity is being left on the table, known in our world as opportunity cost. You may be spending $30,000 every single month on inventory, but you have $70,000 in inventory you could be purchasing, potentially leaving another 5 figures of profit for someone else to grab. This may feel like a unique problem to have, but it's actually very normal for this business model. Unlike your first major hurdle, which is being able to actually find enough wholesale inventory to purchase, this is a growth problem. You'll see an immediate halt to your month-over-month growth, which feels like a punch to the throat. Going through this exact issue myself, I began to focus 80% of my week trying to solve this issue. I scaled back on sourcing and completely automated my restocking process. Nothing else mattered. No other task, when solved, could have such an impact on my growth. That's when I discovered the stretch technique. Now, at some point, I was searching for answers and had nothing but questions. So I reached out to every single 7- and 8-figure seller I knew to try and answer those questions. Some were very open to sharing their growth secrets, while others shoved me off to keep their strategies to themselves. What I discovered was learned from a combination of high-level sellers and forgotten business books on dusty shelves in the furthest corners of bookstores. I came out with roughly 3 high-yield strategies that will have an immediate impact on your business. I'm not talking about growing an extra 5 to 10% every month, but an immediate doubling of your business within 30 to 60 days after implementing just one of these techniques. Here's technique number 1, increasing your turnover rate, or how to get a 720% return on your money every single year. This was my holy grail. I sat on the other end of such an incredible Skype conversation that would change everything. It had gone against everything I'd learned so far, but once broken down, seemed so simple. I mean, it was math. The technique is so simple that I dare even call it a technique, but here it is in all its simple glory. Carry less inventory. I know that's not really a whole lot and might feel a little degrading to hear, but let me explain this a little bit more. When you first learn about wholesale business model, you're typically told to carry a month's worth of inventory because it's simple, right? It don't really work that hard. You put in minimal amount of effort and you get great results. But I want you to remember this. You want to keep just enough inventory to not go out of stock, but always be on the verge. This is called just-in-time logistics. So if I have $10,000 to spend each month, I have 2 options on how I spend it. Option number 1, I can spend the $10,000 on inventory within 1 week for 30 days worth of inventory and re-spend that same $10,000 next month. Doing this, assuming 20% net, will return $2,000 in profit for the month. Or option 2, instead of spending $10,000 for 30 days, what if I bought 15 days worth of inventory? Then you still have $5,000 left in the bank. Yes, but you missed the point. I now have $5,000 to spend on new SKUs. In essence, I'm able to spend that same $10,000 twice. Using this option, assuming the same 20% net would return $4,400 in profit for the month. So again, the first turnover would be $10,000 plus the 20% return, $2,000 for the first turnaround, which is week 1 through 2. Now for the second turnaround, you now have $12,000 to earn the next 20% from. So by week 4, you now have $2,400 in net profit just for, again, week 3 through 4. But in total, your monthly profit now jumps up to $4,400. So without adding any new capital into the business and increasing your turnover rate, you can double your monthly profit and growth. So I immediately implemented this strategy into my business and saw the results within, of course, the next 2 weeks. So let's assume you get 30% return on your spend. If you're using option 1 from above, you're going to get 30% compounding, assuming you take, nothing out of the business and reinvest it, which will give you a total return of 360% annually. Using option number 2, however, paints a much prettier picture. Rather than 360% return, you would have a 720% return, as you would double your compound frequency from 1 month to twice. The next strategy is what I call going net. Now, have you ever noticed how the credit section of a wholesale application kind of always confuses you because you never know quite what it's used for? Yeah, me too. So for a while, I just completely ignored them, and I had no clue as to the benefits that they could have for me and obviously the growth of my business. Although I would never suggest someone to start with net terms, it does make sense once the inventory you carry from that supplier is what I would consider stabilized. So you would never place a test order using net terms. And net terms just mean that the supplier is willing to give you the inventory. And if you're using, let's say, net 30 terms, you have to pay for that within 30 days of you receiving the order. There's net 30, 60, 90, 120, and a few more, of course. So once I've carried inventory for a long period of time, let's say a few months, and I'm fairly confident in the stability, maturity, and consistency of that inventory, I can routinely start to shift some of my accounts over to net 30 terms. If I routinely spend $5,000 a month with the supplier and then move to net 30 terms, assuming you're ordering 2 weeks of inventory, it's a no-brainer as I would free up that cash. By using net terms, it would then make sense to order 3 weeks worth of inventory because it would never lower nor increase your turnover rate as it's a credit from your suppliers. By the time the 30 days is up and I have to pay for the inventory, it's already been sold and given me a profit. So I quote unquote spent nothing and got a profit. That's an infinite return and would immediately free up $5,000 of the cash that I do have to spend on new inventory. It's important to note that net terms should only be used again when you have already tested inventory. This is not something you want to gamble on because it is still always going to be due. So there you have the stretch technique and the going net technique. 2 things that are so simple but can completely shift the trajectory of your business. Before we leave, I have a huge ask. If you enjoyed this podcast and you got value from it, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. The way we're able to have more impact on more sellers is by getting in front of them. We can do that by having more reviews and getting pushed to the top of iTunes podcasts. So leave us a review and let us know what you think of the podcast.